you guys. Welcome to another episode of Men on Trek. I am your host, Admiral Red Shirt, back with my Captains Daystrom and Palpatine. Jake for his friends. Welcome back, guys.
Good to be back.
Always love to be in the Admiral's office.
Yeah,
Personal transporter.
yeah. And yeoman.
Along with 8,000 subscribers.
8,000 subscribers. Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Thank you for 8,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming along with us.
On the way to 10.
Yeah, and 20. We'll be done by then. Tonight, gentlemen, Space Seed.
Ooh. Obviously, we've done Space Seed before.
They don't know that.
They do now.
What you tell them for?
Because we back in the day, and you need to go back and listen to it before we had video. You can listen to the original.
No, they can't. That's
No.
not why we're. That's not why we're doing it.
Space Seed was one of the technical difficulties that we had in the early days.
Oh, okay. I guess we're gonna wipe all the sections.
See? Just edit this out.
It's still a redux in that we're
is.
doing it again. It's
is.
just no one got to enjoy it except for us.
It's
If it never showed, then it never was done.
It's Space Seed, the do-over.
The tree falls in the forest. Does anybody hear it?
They do now when you tell them. Season 1, Episode 22, Space Seed, originally aired February 16th, 1967.
Well,
And-
see, they have to know that that's an important episode, and they're probably thinking why we never did it. We did it. There was technical issues, and now we're redoing it.
Right.
Sure, most of our 8,000 followers have given up wondering why we do what we do.
Oh, now they know. There was a bet on it. Now you know.
Okay.
And listen, this is why this episode is important.
Why?
It's the prologue to the greatest science fiction movie ever made. In my opinion. Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, it's
can't-
up there.
I can't argue. It's certainly one of.
We're not talking about the new one. Talking about the original.
No, he said Wrath of Khan. There is no other movie called Wrath of Khan.
What's the other one? Oh, Into Darkness.
Into Darkness.
See, there you go. You didn't even have to say it.
Yeah. Which I don't think that was necessarily that bad of a movie, but Wrath of Khan was like,
The movie.
It's the movie for so many reasons.
It is. It's subjectively a good movie, even outside of being a Star Trek film.
canon.
Yeah.
Yep, Star Trek.
You
We're not
start off with the Kobayashi Maru, and you understand so much. There's so much content in
Character
every
building.
scene. Absolutely, yeah.
But we're not talking.
But we're not
about
talking about that.
We're not talking about that.
So knock it off.
We threatened to do Wrath of Khan after this.
We threatened.
We threatened it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But we might switch up and, do Miri or something.
Miri.
or
Yeah.
something.
Is it time for Miri?
It's getting to be time for Miri.
It just dawned on me why it's titled the way it's titled.
Yeah.
What?
Because of at the very end
Spock.
of what Spock says at the very end of the movie. Not movie, the episode.
Halt. Going back to the beginning of the
It
episode.
just dawned on me why it's named what it's named.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about.
Out of 30 years, 50 years, it's just
Wow.
dawned on me why it's named what it's named.
And that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? You got something out of it already.
I sure did.
Another thing, since we're talking about epiphanies here, self-revelations, we did a top 5 red shirts, and I yelled when I saw Khan sitting in his quarters wearing a red shirt.
And somebody's borrowed clothes.
Somebody's borrowed clothes.
Didn't matter because his whole uniform with his insignia on it and his rank, all his people are wearing red.
Yeah.
But he was.
He's a red
Jake,
shirt.
Jake's right.
Yeah.
He was in the
He's one of
uniform.
yours at the end of the day. He's
If I could genetically engineer red shirts,
It would
I
be
would.
God.
I would.
You have a bunch of cons running around.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Put them in white helmets.
give him Khan's physicality and Tracy's mentality.
I could get another star with a crew like
Yeah.
that. But the beginning of the episode, Enterprise is cruising in, awesome effect shots for the remaster.
Oh yeah, once again.
Especially my camera's too high.
Yeah.
Especially when the Enterprise pulls up on the Botany Bay. But the
A DY 100.
yes,
Because Kirk at first was like, that looks like a DY 500
yeah, from the 90s.
from the 90s. Yeah.
I got it. That's something I got a kick out of in the episode. The dates they were playing around with. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've been there, done that. We still don't have one.
Man, we let down Star Trek so bad.
There's a Star
Well,
Trek.
Blue Origin at least sent women into space.
Yeah.
Kind of. Kind of. No, but there's a commercial that has a Star Trek tie-in because it's Avery Brooks says it's the year 2000. Where are my flying cars?
That's right.
They said there'd be flying cars. Where are my flying cars?
They're called helicopters.
No, they're supposed to be.
No, they're
Supposed
called
to be
helicopters.
George Jetson in it by now.
They're called helicopters.
We got the Dick Tracy watches, though.
We do,
Yeah.
and we have tricorders
Yeah.
And communicators.
and communicators. Well, in the same
I
package.
just don't have my personal agonizer
Agonizer.
agonizer.
that
They
I
got-
can use on somebody else.
Taser.
They got those too. Yeah, taser. They
Taser.
got those.
No, they even got, not the one that shoots the wire. There's,
They got
Yeah.
yeah. They got an agonizer.
They got an agonizer.
They got an agonizer.
Yeah. But no starships.
And they no phasers.
Yeah. No phasers.
Can't have
And
everything.
no blue or green Orion women.
No.
There's all kinds of
No,
painted people out there.
No.
Yeah.
they're not from Orion.
Well, that you know of. Don't be pessimistic.
I'm pessimistic.
I know you guys don't want to talk about this episode, but we probably should.
I'm trying not to be a tyrannical admiral for a change.
Go ahead.
Enterprise cruises in. The Enterprise cruises in, not like it's late or anything. The Enterprise cruises in. It's on red alert.
They find Khan, they unfreeze him, he tries to take over the ship, and then they maroon him. Hit the music.
What's interesting is it starts out, they're not really going anywhere. They don't have to be anywhere. They just happen upon a
They get a
Morse
signal.
code.
They pick up on a ship and a signal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me is when they're approaching, before they know what it is, they're on red alert. They're fully manned and ready to fight. Kirk's checking statuses, and phasers are manned, and shields are up, and they are ready for a problem if it comes to that. And just because they can't readily identify the object, and as the scene opens up, Spock says it is definitely a ship. Kirk says, give me more. What kind of ship? And they are fully ready to get it on.
Yeah, I think that tells a lot to that their space is not as friendly as we would probably try to imagine that it was
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the few times probably where they do what they probably should do.
right.
Right.
There's this unknown thing, and they just kind of cruise. And most episodes, they kind of cruise up to it, and as long as nothing bad happens, they're just like, oh, okay.
This is probably written correctly. Treat it as a potential hazard until proven
To
not.
improve otherwise, right?
Yeah.
They pretty quickly identify that it is a ship. Get closer. Again, the amazing sensor array. McCoy's monitoring from sickbay, and he says life signs, but not human. The heartbeats are too low, too slow.
Now that was pretty cool because I don't know if I've ever noticed that before in another episode where I know you're getting your bridge sensors,
Mm-hmm.
but McCoy seems to be, like you said, down in sick bay monitoring life signs.
Life signs, yeah. They've always done a good job in the background. Of the background banter is like other departments are checking in, and multiple things are happening. But this is the first time where it all kind of comes together. Like, okay, Scotty's looking at it structurally,
right,
from engineering. McCoy's looking at life science from sick bay. Spock's doing an overall, like, it's a ship, and this is the
Uhura's monitoring communications.
Uhura's monitoring configuration, and Kirk's kind of taking in the information and making decisions based on what he's getting. So yeah, it comes together really well. It's a really well written opening scene.
And I don't know, did you guys get this through the episode? It was like Kirk wasn't. I think that he followed a process, but once he kind of knew what was going on, he seemed very relaxed to me and very much like he wasn't worried about anything.
Yeah, he feels like he's in control, like right up until he's not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he feels like he's got it under control until he doesn't.
Yeah, he makes a couple of decisions that we thought were questionable.
Yeah.
As far as allowing.
And some of that is we know what's going to happen.
Right.
But at the same time, like even this opening scene, I think they get enough where it's like, let's keep this level of caution.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for you to ever give people your top secret access to information. Not to say it's top secret, but that's the way it viewed in my mind.
You can argue that that's a writing foible, like and we're getting ahead of ourselves like we always do, but using real life as an example, I can look up some pretty detailed information about an aircraft carrier. What I can't get
how the system
is
work.
How the intruder system works, what the intruder system is,
even where it is.
Right. I can't get the exact specifications on the nuclear reactor. I know it has one.
Right.
You wouldn't even know what the controls for it is.
I'll know, but the helpful information will also tell me that there's some Marines standing there who won't let me in.
But once again, this just reinforces. We have the Daystrom theory about the second ship. My theory is that the majority of evil people in this world were engineers.
Yeah. You engineers are bad people.
That's right.
You run around figuring things out and causing problems.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get into it.
We are into it.
Jumping.
We are into it.
Let's go systematically through till we get, till we get to the all glorious pipe.
That's gonna happen.
The pipe.
So, and the reason they figure out, like we said, they figure out it's a DY-100 ship, an Earth ship. Spock even speculates that it could be aliens utilizing an old Earth ship.
I like that. That was good writing.
Yeah. It's possible.
I didn't like that.
Really?
I didn't like that. You're an alien. You're out in space. How did you get in space to take some old Earth ship? So
even in Star Trek, people are running around in junkers.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I would think if they're aliens, their stuff would be better than ours.
Not necessarily. You alien.
There could be trailer park aliens.
You alien.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
You aliening on a budget, man. You got old DY-100.
That's right.
It's high mileage, but it's easy to run.
Yeah.
Little nuclear reactor action.
A little cost effectiveness there.
Little Uber. Little radiation leak.
They're using it as an Uber.
That ship wasn't even worth towing back in. The difference in technology wasn't even worth towing back in.
One thing I noted when we were watching it, they used some really interesting camera angles in this opening scene on the bridge.
Yeah.
They come in kind of a high boom, what's got to be a high boom shot. And Jake, you pointed out, not only do they do that, but at the critical moment, the navigator gets up and leaves his station to get out of the way so they can frame so they can zero in.
The non-checkoff guy gets up and moves.
Yeah, the not yet checkoff guy.
Yeah.
He moves so that they can frame the shot. But it's a really cool kind of coming off the ceiling of the bridge, panning in kind of shot.
There was another one that was really good. It was kind of an old over the shoulder of Spock, but they had to be past where his panels were.
Yeah.
And Kirk was down a bit, and Spock was kind of leaning towards him to talk, but the background was in soft focus. Like it was a cinematic shot. Yeah. It didn't look like a television shot.
Yeah, and there's a lot in this episode. Kirk hanging out over at the science station just talking to Spock.
Yeah. Sat in his chair at one point.
Yeah. So they move in. Now, fantastic shot of the Enterprise pulling up alongside the Botany Bay.
Yep.
Which is when Daystrom noted it was a piece of junk. But really awesome shot. They pull in, identified as Botany Bay. It doesn't immediately come up on any historical records, but they already know enough to know that this is a ship out of the mid to late 90s, an interplanetary spaceship from the 90s. And they know that that's as Spock throws a little shade, and he says, yeah, it was the last of your world wars. Like he's talking to them like you savages, you were still having world wars back then. And
what was interesting is they didn't immediately board it. They sat there for a while.
Yeah,
they did.
For a couple of hours before.
Just looking at it.
Right, just scanning it before they go over.
Which, again, good writing. They didn't just, let's go on the random ship and see what's happening. They looked at
Bring back an alien infestation.
They looked at it. They looked at it for the better part of 10 hours, according to the byplay.
Right.
They looked at it for the better part of 10 hours before they decided to beam aboard.
Yep.
And you've got the byplay between they're figuring out where this thing is, and that's when you get a scene with Spock, McCoy, and Kirk, where McCoy, they fill in more information about the late 90s World War. They call it the Eugenics War, when genetically engineered men tried to conquer the planet. And Spock's kind of giving them some low key, you guys are savages, and Kirk and McCoy are kind of like, yeah, maybe. And there's more of that later, but so Kirk finally decides they're going to go aboard. He taps Scotty, McCoy, and then he remembers, he's like, don't we have who's that historian? What's her name?
Yeah, let her earn her money.
Let her do something for a change. He literally says that. And they call up Lieutenant MacGyvers.
And we get the byplay between McCoy and Kirk, because McCoy goes, till I gotta.
Yeah.
Is the order? Do I gotta go?
Well, I love that because McCurk's like, hey, McCoy, how you feel about going? He's like, how you feel about going over to the ship? McCoy's like, well, if I really got a choice? And he's about to tell him, I don't want to go. He's like, McCoy is smart. He's like, no, I don't want my Adam.
You got a tricorder. I can watch what you do from
I'll be
from sick bay.
I'll be down in sick bay watching you meet the monster. Yeah. So McCoy's like, don't want my atom scrambled. Don't want to go on the weird ship. I'll stay here.
I don't need to beam over, Sam. I am.
Kirk's like, it's not optional. You got to go. And McCoy's like, well, what'd you ask me for? You know, that's a good character development scene.
Well, this gives a whole background on him being afraid of the transporter, or not wanting his atom scattered. And this is a direct playback in the movie.
And it's season 1. It might be the first time he says it. It's not the only time he says it, but it might be the first time. We'd have to check. But
I think one of the things for me that was really that was always good about that with McCoy was most of the time in science fiction, science fantasy, people accept the highest risk maneuvers with little to no regard.
Yeah.
Like every time, let me give you a good example in another franchise. There's a droid that says, I hate space travel.
Yeah.
You know, and I think those are the types of characters that you need to make a story believable. Because I don't know how much what I would do on the Enterprise. Like, I think I would want to be there, but getting in a transporter, I think that takes a lot of guts.
I've always liked that it's the medical doctor who's like, hey.
Right, he should be the one reassuring everybody, right?
He knows.
I know how the body works. One mistake.
Yeah.
One mistake and you're screwed.
Yeah, he's like, I have intimate knowledge of what happens to you when you get on one of those things, and I don't like it, and I don't want to do it. But the technology is mature enough where
nobody else gives it a second
people just
thought.
kind of get on it and they just hope for the best. I liken it to how people ride elevators in tall buildings. You're 30 stories up, you get on the thing, you don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah, but there's a lot of safety factors on an elevator.
Sure. And the transporter has a buffer.
Keep it.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Get locked in.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
They'll reprint you. It's all good. I first had that thought. I was working in a very old building downtown, and we got on the elevators in this place, and the elevators would bounce, and we're like on the 15th floor, and it's like, oh yeah, this is good. This is good. So they beam aboard the Botany Bay.
Did you notice that MacGyver had a
phaser?
Yeah, and she had it on like a black belt on the outside of her uniform.
They in the first season they show they're usually kind of under the shirts, but they're they're black belts. Yeah,
but hers was on the outside.
Outside, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's wearing a dress.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Female cast members that beam down with external phaser belts.
Yeah, Vol. The episode with Vol.
Yeah.
The female crew members that beam down are armed like that.
Okay, good.
In that episode.
Good.
Yeah, it's consistent.
Good.
So they beam over to the Botany Bay, and Scotty immediately goes like full, hot rod custom.
That's right.
Oh, wow. This is a 20th century. Yeah. This is a 20th century job, nuclear power. And I think these things were called transistors.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were still using transistors in the 90s, but we don't have DY-100 ships either. We don't even have like decent space shuttles yet. Not really. But
whoa, Camper! Elon just saved somebody from the space station.
He sent them a taxi.
Yeah.
At least we got taxis.
Check with me when we go to Mars. And Elon will probably take us there, but check with me when we go to Mars.
Blue Origin guy ain't getting us there?
Nah, man. Nah. Nah.
That sounds biased to
me. Low orbit, so you can float a little bit. Blue Origin, yeah, that's got you. We got you on that. Space, right? But then you get a little more background story. It's a sleeper ship. They find, what was it? Actually, it was 100 bodies in suspended. 84 bodies in suspended animation. 12 of them deceased.
Yep.
And MacGyver chimes in and says, yes, this was a sleeper ship. And they did that up until 2018 because of the distances and time involved in space travel.
Right.
And she comments on how good looking the people are.
Yeah, she says these are all beautiful people.
Yeah, MacGyver just starts to come off the rails. Like,
well, she's a historian finding living history.
Yeah.
Living chiseled muscular history.
First thing that came to my mind when she said it's a sleeper ship is, and then I meet a man of the past, Buck Rogers in the 25th.
Oh yeah.
First thing that came to mind.
Yeah.
No,
Buck Rogers. I was looking around. Where's Twiggy?
24th and a half century. But so they're examining the ship, and one of the life pods begins to come on, and they're monitoring life signs. And McCoy goes, "Yep, heart rate's increasing, looking more human, blood pressure's coming up. Yeah, this guy's gonna wake up." And
MacGyver interjects. Normally, this happens with the captain. So
no. Kirk has to ask her 7 times because
she's gone.
Just standing there, just drooling.
Oh, hey,
she's drooling.
Eye candy. She got a ooh-wee.
She's being inappropriate. She's staring.
I felt unsafe.
You felt unsafe?
Yes, I did.
You felt unsafe? You wanted to call HR?
She was creating a toxic environment.
Yeah, she was.
Be careful. Paramount might actually pull the episode.
She was ogling. She was
gone. At that point, she was just gone. He's like, Kirk's like, hey, listen, hey.
He has to
hello.
He actually reprimands her because of it.
Yeah.
In a recent commentary on another classic story, apparently ogling a sleeping person is not appropriate.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
It's what I've heard lately.
Okay.
I heard that. I heard ogling.
Well, bad for her.
I heard ogling, looking at, staring at, possibly kissing sleeping people without their consent is not good.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Now, we grew up on it. You know, people used to do that. But I heard recently that it was not a good thing.
It's not. Yeah.
Just saying. So MacGyver's is way out here. She's, you know, there's like.
Well, it's a good thing Kirk reprimanded.
He did. He took the appropriate management.
So let's just
action.
move past. He got on.
Move past?
Okay. He smoked her for it.
You guys feeling good? You guys, everybody's feeling safe?
Yeah, I'm feeling safe.
Okay. I feel better now.
All right. Well, you're not safe yet because as vitals are coming up, the 200-year-old sleep pod begins to malfunction.
Dust.
Yeah. Scotty thinks
Scotty
it's
says dust.
Dust in the transistors.
Yeah.
Dust in the transistors. What a way to go.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Do you remember the beginning of Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston?
Yes.
Yes. The original one?
Let me tell you something. I can very few things would freak me out as a kid.
Yes, I know exactly what you're going to say.
You know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going.
So they had hypersleep chambers too.
Yeah.
And I think they had 3 male and a female.
Yeah.
Only 1 female, maybe.
Yeah.
When they crash landed, and they went and did that reveal, was that not hideous?
Yeah.
The people in the tubes of the smoke.
Well,
her chamber had malfunctioned.
But she aged.
She aged.
It's like she died of old age, not like she just died.
Well, they were essentially in hyperspace, and the sleep chamber protected them from the aging effect. And when it failed, she aged out.
Yeah.
She aged out.
She was.
That was horrible.
Looked like the Lich King or something. She was terrible.
Zombie on board.
Zombie. Yeah.
Zombie on
zombie-ish.
Board.
Yeah.
Well, Khan's on his way. Dust is going to take out the great Khan. And, foresight, hindsight, whatever you want to call it, probably
let him go.
Probably should have just left it alone, but they don't know that. McCoy, of course, does his thing, and they've only got seconds. Khan's going to die, and Kirk's got to make a call. And Scotty's like, take me hours to figure out how this thing actually works and fix it. So Kirk busts out the phaser and breaks the glass on the hermetically sealed sleep chamber.
It wasn't a phaser. It looked like the back of a flashlight.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, it did. I agree.
Yeah, he grabbed something. Yeah, so it wasn't. He had his phaser, but it wasn't his phaser.
Yeah. I would, if I was, you know how we know some directors go back and change things digitally? You know, what I would do is I would turn that into a con pipe. It brought him in. Yeah. It took him out.
An extending con pipe?
Yeah.
I thought that glass broke way too easy. But okay.
Yeah, that's a hermetically sealed medical chamber. Yeah. You should have had to phaser that glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have had to.
But they got it open.
They get it open.
I love the way how the platform he's laying on pushes out.
Slides out. Yeah.
But then it shows how deep that thing is, so how deep the chamber would actually be.
Yeah. So they get Khan out, and Khan asks how long. I was debating if it was a good thing to tell him that right then. Just not from giving him too much information, or from a humanitarian standpoint. You find some guy that's been on ice for 2 centuries. Is that the first thing you drop on him?
You know what? Go ahead.
He went into the chamber anyway, so he probably expected it to be a long time regardless. So I don't think there's a big deal about telling him, okay, you were down for 200 years or 2,000 years or whatever the heck. You know, whatever it's going to come.
I don't know. I'm thinking I got to break the news to him a little.
You know what? You know why I think the difference is that we're thinking like us. You got to think like James T. in his prime. He's not worried about. Really, he comes off to me in this episode. He's not worried at all about anything, and I don't know if it's ego or it's just he's delusional. I don't think that's what it is. I think he's fully competent and capable. He's got his crew. He's got his ship. He's come he's come across these guys because
Yeah,
he does a couple of questionable things.
You can't hurt me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't.
You can't hurt me.
Yeah,
But I think you've touched on something. I think there is a bit of hubris at work.
yeah,
Because what Daystrom just said, Kirk's looking at it like, we found some fossils and what can they do to us?
right.
Even after they begin to piece together, like, pretty quickly you find out, hey, man, you just brought Kal-El on board. and if he put his mind to it, he could beat up everybody in the room.
And outthink everybody in the room.
Well, they speculate on that.
Right.
Oh, no, it starts to be proven.
Well, yeah, but when they first speculate, McCoy leaves that open as well. He says, but to Jake's point, Kirk's kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah. We got a little natural history project going on here. It's all good.
Because you would think they beam him back. He's in the sick bay.
Yep.
And Kirk comes for a visit, and McCoy's like, I can't kill this guy if I wanted to.
Right. He's got
And
a
he's
will
like,
to live.
yeah, and he's like, and I'm wondering if his mind works as well as his body. And Kirk just kind of smiles and walks away. And what you would be thinking is, do you think
He's a danger.
you think he's a danger? Like, let's put some restraints on him and wake him up slowly. And Kirk is just like, yeah, well, do whatever you want with him.
And McCoy, beginning of the episode, McCoy's like, hey, yeah, that's about when the eugenics war were going on.
Right.
Genetically engineered Superman.
That's right.
And, hey, Jim, check this dude's vitals out.
Yeah,
Well,
he looks like he's eugenically engineered.
That's the point where McCoy said, I bet he can lift us both with one
Yeah,
arm.
One arm. Yeah.
And then McCoy postulates, I wonder if his mind is as good as his physical body. 'Cause
Yeah.
he said, this guy, I couldn't have killed, like say,
Can't kill him if he wanted to.
he's bringing himself back to life.
Right. He's not going to die.
Well, and then there's I mean, I'm just going to go there, At one point, very quickly, Khan wakes up. He looks around. Of course, McCoy's got some knives hanging on the wall. He grabs one. McCoy comes in.
Yeah.
He puts the knife to his throat, and he's like, I want some questions. I want some answers, blah, blah, blah. And McCoy's like, you're not getting anything out of me. And then he takes...
I love that scene with McCoy.
But here's the thing. Don't you think you would have passed that information along to your captain?
You would
Oh,
think
by
so.
the way, he wants some answers.
And he choked
But he was choking me out. He had a knife to my throat.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna let your captain walk in there with this guy? I would have been like, there's somebody here with some questions, and the first thing I would have went over there and hypoed him to
and
sleep.
feeding into that, there's two quick scenes we skipped over quickly. While Khan's sleeping, Kirk leaves after McCoy tells him, he's Superman, and
Yeah, he's Superman.
Kirk's like, yeah, cool, yeah, okay, 20th century Superman. I'm going back up to the bridge. He's not concerned.
No.
But he's on the bridge talking to Spock, and he's like, hey, Spock, what do you think? And Spock's like, I don't have enough information. I don't know. But Spock has clearly got a bad vibe. Spock's at least feeling like we should probably exercise some caution here because we don't know.
Right.
Kirk's just kind of like, eh. And he's like, come on, Spock, you don't know? You always know. And Spock's like,
He even says at some point, he goes, this could be a ship full of criminals.
Yeah.
And Spock goes, that's illogical.
That's illogical.
And he's like,
And
okay.
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And Spock explains it perfectly. It's easier just to shoot them
Right.
than to
Right.
put them on its
Most advanced starship that they have.
advanced ship
Right.
that they
Yeah.
have and launch them into space. What a
Yeah.
waste of money.
Yeah.
Well, if you're getting rid of criminals, yes. If you are criminals escaping, no. But
Well, that's the
That's the
caveat
rub,
to it.
right.
That's the rub
And that's
to
the
it.
thing. Did we ever really settle on that? Because I guess there's two ways of approaching the Botany Bay component of this. One is that they were caught, convicted, and then sent out to space.
No.
The other is, as the walls were coming in, they got together and they escaped.
They did the Hydra Red Skull, jumped on the ship and booked.
yeah, they escaped.
Okay.
Total breakout. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because as we were talking about it, watching the episode, this is, well, World War III, maybe World War IV, depending on which Star Trek timeline you like. But this guy, and you find out later in the episode, this guy controlled a third of the planet at one point, And so when the walls, like as you say, when the walls come crumbling down and they're coming for you, there's literally nowhere on earth you're gonna go.
He did the Red Skull. He said, Dr. Zola, just grab my car. Let's get we can load it up on the ship.
We're getting out of here.
My boys, my girls, we're boogieing it.
Yeah, but in Khan's case, the level of his trespass is we got to leave the planet.
Well, the level of his ingenious is he has the ability to leave the planet.
True. So, but what's important in that scene is we finish up on Spock saying the lack of facts should make us cautious.
I want a movie on the war that got Khan to leave.
Yeah.
Just give me a movie on that. I just want to see the World War, the eugenics war in Star Trek.
And immediately it comes to mind who's going to do it and who's going to do it right. But
Robert Rodriguez?
No.
Alita guy? The Alita director?
Director, yeah, but who's going to write it? That's kind of where more of my head was going. Who's going to write it?
Who are you thinking?
I don't have anybody.
Oh, okay.
I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody. The other scene that's kind of consequential, and this was a good one for Jake. Down in sick bay, MacGyver's is there drooling over the specimen, being all inappropriate again. Khan's helpless. He's asleep, probably sedated. I think somebody should call security. But Kirk calls her out of the room and is like, "Hey, I got to talk to you about your conduct on the
drooling
on the landing
party. I
party.
call you on your drooling."
So he's like, you were asleep at the wheel. It's like, and he says the actions of any one person in the landing party can jeopardize everyone, or the actions of any crewman on the ship can jeopardize the whole ship.
Right. I could have slipped on that puddle of drool you had going. Yeah. I could have hurt myself.
Hit my head.
Scotty could have left a transistor out and blew up the ship. You standing there daydreaming about 20th century warlords, but he dresses her down, and she kind of defends herself like, "No, my."
Yeah, there was this was not a teachable moment, and she didn't receive the feedback.
No, she's like, "No, my interests are professional." And Kirk kind of looked at her, and he's like, "You think 20th century men are superior to modern men?" And she went, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "Honesty, all right, I can work with honesty.
Yeah,
I can forgive mistakes if there's honesty."
Yeah, which I thought was a great Kirk line.
That's a funny projection, because you have Khan, who's hard, you have Kirk, who's a little bit softer, then you have Picard, who's super soft, and as it goes out, they get softer and softer.
Squishy. Squishy. Cisco wasn't squishy.
Cisco. I'm not a fan of Cisco.
I like Cisco. It's squishy on either side of Cisco, but I like Cisco.
But she says I prefer
20th century
rougher men.
Yeah. So shout out to all you people who were born in the 20th century. Mm. But
and McCoy goes, "Too bad you're a Starfleet captain. You could have made a pretty decent psychiatrist."
Yeah.
And Kirk goes, "Decent?"
Yeah.
Smiles and walks out. Fair.
But to your point, Kirk's still not phased.
No.
Now,
he's completely unmoved.
He's in Kirk captain mode, period.
His first officer has said, "I got a bad feeling about this," in so many words.
And he said, "Until you get something more than feelings, don't bother me.
That's
right.
McCoy has neglected to tell him that his patient threatened him with a blade.
Mm-hmm.
Little bit of an oversight there.
But that was a cool stare down by unblinking McCoy.
That was a great character moment for McCoy. As empathetic and as McCoy is, and how he can sometimes come off weak, McCoy's got a backbone.
That's the thing about McCoy. If you take each character apart, if you take Kirk apart, if you take Spock apart, if you take McCoy apart, the thing is about McCoy is that he's a tough SOB.
Yeah.
He really is.
Yes.
And especially for quote unquote a physician, right?
Yeah.
You know, what you would expect him would be like, you know, don't hurt me. I'll tell you whatever you want. This, that, and the other stuff. McCoy just looks at him and goes like, "You gonna cut my throat?
Or you gonna
Or
choke?
you're gonna choke me out.
You go for my carotid artery below my ear."
The first line says, "Are you gonna cut me? Or you gonna choke me?
me.
Make up your mind."
Make up your mind.
He's like, you're irritating me.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
McCoy has got so much.
Yeah,
He there's you know we know the fondness that he has for women.
Yes.
Because we see that a lot, and you could kind of write that into the stereotype a bit.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when push comes to shove and somebody's got a knife to his throat, he's like, do it.
What's so good about
Do it.
He's not your stereotypical doctor. He's not super softy. There's a hard edge to McCoy. Now he'll push for the saving of lives to the most, but then there's a point where McCoy has said in an episode, "How many people we gonna lose over this? Let's pull out of this.
Right.
Right.
Let's save as many as we can and get out. Those we lose."
McCoy.
And the writing even supports him. Like when you look at Bread and Circuses, when he's fighting gladiator style, he's not good at that.
No.
And the guy from was like, make this look good, you know. And he's like, I'm doing the best I can. They still leave him open to not, you know, be 1800 in every category. He still comes up short, but he's not a coward about it.
He's not a coward.
Never a coward.
Not a coward.
He's not a coward.
And his approach to things is almost like, I have to save you idiots.
Right.
He's coming.
I have to save you from yourself.
From yourselves, yeah.
Right.
You guys are going to do stuff that's not in your best interest, and I got to be here to stop you.
So this is a point that's lost for most individuals. The doctor is the ship's counselor.
Often, yeah.
In this
the way they handle it in Star Trek in general.
This section in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Before you get down to Troy and telepaths beaming into your head, the doctor is the ship's counselor. He's the person that everybody goes to. He's the person that tries to help them work through their problems. You know, so he's got to be stable.
Yeah.
He's got to be somebody that can be trusted
and experienced and wise.
It's, to me too, when you look at the courage that he has, he knows he's not as capable as Kirk is physically, right? But he still will stand there and kind of take it, you know? Mm-hmm. And then he knows he's not as smart as Spock, but damn if he doesn't have better common sense.
Right.
Like, you know, he has said it in multiple episodes. Why are we hanging around here?
Yeah.
Let's get the hell out of here, you know? I mean, he's just, he's just always been a great character.
McCoy's the ones like, guys, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Common sense.
This is stupid.
You know?
Oh, we have to. No, it's like, no, we don't have to.
No, we don't have to.
We don't.
You
have
want to.
Yeah,
I don't.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's also a good scene in Kirk and Khan's initial byplay. When Khan lets McCoy go, he's dismissive. He's like,
oh yeah.
He's like, you're beneath me. Get your captain.
Yeah.
Although he acknowledges McCoy's bravery.
Right.
He says, you're beneath me. Get your captain. I'm ready to talk now, and I'm not going to talk to you because you're not on my level.
Yeah.
The byplay between Kirk and Khan in every scene is very subtle, but it begins immediately.
Yes.
They're measuring one another. Khan's coming in thinking, this guy's an idiot.
Yep.
And he's gonna
soft.
And he's gonna give away the store.
Yep.
And Khan begins to ask probing questions, and Kirk's looking back at him like, no, Neanderthal, I'm not dumb.
I'm not the one.
I'm not dumb.
I'm not the one.
I'm not stupid. Which plays into Kirk's hubris to some degree because Kirk sees the game and he's unfazed. And he's unfazed. He's like, no, man, I'm not giving you.
Well, let me tell you the difference between the Enterprise and Captain Palpatine's ship. Okay, yeah. Because if I walked into sick bay and the first thing that he does with Khan, he says, "Who are you?" I'm Captain James T. Palpatine, and he looks at him, and Khan doesn't give him his name.
Yeah,
and he goes, "Oh, I have some questions." Is that so I would have been this like. My red shirts would have approached to the door of the sick bay, and I would say, they're going to ask you for your name. And I would have walked out, and I would have found out right there what this guy was made out of, because I would have the red shirts come in there and go, Captain, ask you a question.
Yeah, that was a little hard to swallow.
Yeah.
That we rescued you. I told you who I am. All I want is your name, and you're going to be obstinate.
Yeah, you're coming from a place of superiority when you're laying in my sick bay, and I just saved your life.
You're going to be obstinate now.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you how little control Khan had in this whole episode. Because if you think about the approach, right? If he was humble and sweet and made things up,
he could have got the world.
Oh, he could have got the world. He could have negotiated for anything.
If Khan, the smart play for Khan, after getting a little bit of information, instead of saying, "Oh, I got to take this ship and ride out," okay, nah, these guys, I'm gonna play it cool. We're gonna get to this star base he's talking about. I'm gonna get my guys off ice. I'm gonna get the lay of the land. We're gonna play nice until I can see what's what.
I don't think that's possible for Khan because of
Probably
his makeup. Our worldview is based upon what we will do.
Right.
So Khan's thinking, if I make it to this base, my guys will never be defrozen.
Right.
Possibly.
Because I would never defreeze anybody.
Yeah.
Our worldview basically is set upon what we assign to people
What we would do.
what we would do.
And good point there. Kirk wisely left the other 72 on ice.
Yep.
While they dealt with Khan.
Yep. Well, Khan asked him, "Go."
He demanded. He said, "Free my
"You got
people."
to free my people." And I
Free
was
my
like,
people. Kirk was like, "Nah."
Yeah, or what it could have been, as he looked through, he started to get through. He got to go do the old the Gary thing where I'm going to look through the library.
This is before he
files.
gets into the tapes.
This is before he does the Gary Mitchell.
Yeah. But when he does the Gary Mitchell, maybe because one thing I'm thinking is like, what's his motivation? Well, he probably thinks they know who he is.
Maybe.
Or they'll soon know who he is.
Well, that's why he didn't give his name.
Yeah. Well, make up a name. I'm Bob Smith. How are you, Captain? Nice to meet you. Like, what? I don't know.
Arrogance.
Yeah, the arrogance.
Arrogance. My name is great.
That's right. Yeah.
I ruled 1/3 of the planet.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah. I'm. It's arrogance.
Yeah. It is.
That was his undoing.
That is one of his great downfalls. Arrogance. And when Kirk gave him access to the tape, I'm like, no.
Oh yeah.
No. Give him some basic tape. Whatever you use to get a whore back up to speed. Give him some basic.
Give him some high school.
The ball is bluey. The ball is bluey.
I would have. Yeah, you could have gave him
anything but the
you could have
layout.
You could have gave him history tapes 2000 to the present.
Yes.
And he'd have been well occupied.
Yeah.
And it would have made sense. But no, I'm not giving you the blueprints to the Starship.
No.
I'm not doing that.
No. That information would be locked down.
Well, he primed what he did do. He did try to prime Kirk with, I was an engineer.
Yeah.
And
so he wanted engineering information.
Yeah, so he wanted engineering information.
He worked Kirk a little bit there.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
So but the byplay between Kirk and Khan is a lot more complex than I originally remembered.
Yeah.
There's a very strong dynamic there. And even the physicality. I mean, one of the reasons they had to pick Ricardo Montalban is he's a big dude, or he was a big dude. And certain scenes, especially where they filmed it, he's like dwarfing Kirk.
Yeah, he is.
You sure they didn't pick him because he was cousins with Ricky Ricardo?
Was he really?
No.
No, he wasn't.
I can believe that.
No, he wasn't. No, he's a big dude though. He's a big dude. He was. I don't remember. He was at least 6'4".
Lucille Ball kept them guys around. She loved them.
No,
Sir William's 5'5", 5'6".
Yeah. Ricardo Montalban's like 6'3", 6'4",
really?
something like that, or
Wow.
maybe a little taller, or he was.
Okay.
So, but the way they film it, dude is just like huge, and the byplay between he and Kirk on all those levels is just interesting. So, Khan gets access to the tapes. But then our group is congregating. This is the dinner. They're preparing the dinner.
Well,
he gets the tapes, and
right.
Kirk goes back to talk to Spock, and Spock talks about his going through the tapes.
Yeah.
So this dude's reading pretty
This
fast.
dude's reading our library real fast.
This dude's reading pretty fast, man.
But they get the information that in 1993, these supermen took over 40 nations, took over a good chunk of the world and began fighting amongst themselves. And which ultimately led to the war, which ultimately led to the World War.
Well, how they took over can be subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Hitler took over Russia.
He tried.
No. Excuse me. Hitler took over Germany, I meant.
He was elected.
That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
He got control over it.
Oh, yeah, he did.
But it wasn't a violent takeover.
Not initially, no.
No, it was not a violent takeover of Germany. They willingly elected him.
Yeah. It's a little more complicated than that, but yeah.
When does MacGyver come to see him for the first time? It's right here, isn't it?
Well, this is where he pops up. Yeah, she goes to sickbay to see him.
Sickbay to see him.
That's when I'm getting tripped up on where she sees him in sickbay and where he goes to her quarters.
Yeah.
She goes to sickbay to see him, and he's like, oh, I didn't.
He gets handsy very quickly.
Yeah, he's aggressive.
He is handsy all over.
He returns her inappropriateness tenfold.
Oh, yeah. He's got his hand on her face.
She got it coming.
My goodness.
What you get for drooling?
So you think her inappropriateness led to his inappropriate?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
She was looking at him with doe eyes, and he was like, "Oh, I got access."
Yeah.
And it looks a lot to me when I was a kid, and it does now. That Khan maybe spent some time as a young man as a hairdresser, because he immediately starts to rearrange her hairdo.
No, he's molding her into what is pleasing to him.
Yeah, he is. But
his whole interaction with her.
But Jake's not wrong. He knew how to tease the curls.
He knew where those pins were. He knew how to take them out. I wouldn't know any of that.
Can you do that? Just saying.
It's because young Khan was.
Don't mess with the Zohan. It looked like he was. It looked like he was.
Looks like he knew. It looks like he was mixing up. Looks like he was mixing up some lowlights.
He knew his way around.
Highlights.
He knew his way around the women.
Yeah.
He knew his way around the hair.
Yeah.
Oh, the women.
Yeah, he did. He did. True. So
then he says, "I'm glad you came. Do it again."
He's a master manipulator.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
Welcome to Fantasy Island.
Yes.
Where he battles the devil. Do you remember that episode on Fantasy? Roddy McDowell played the devil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of put a thing
that
of
jumped the shark for Fantasy Island.
Because it put Mr. Rourke in a thing of like, okay, well, who is Mr. Rourke?
Yeah, he becomes this supernatural sort of guardian of the planet.
Yeah,
instead of just the guy who knows how to,
So, Khan rearranges Lieutenant MacGyver's hair and gets her all smitten, and she runs off to prepare a feast for him. Makes everybody put on their good clothes.
Good clothes.
Yep. Because the next scene is there in the good clothes. How we're like this. Well, MacGyver said.
Why am I wearing my monkey suit?
MacGyver said. Scotty said, "We got Admiral on board."
Yeah, I was like, what's going on?
What's happening?
Well,
here?
first of all, you got to feel a little bit bad because they show the table and what it looked like to me was pieces of celery that had a little bit of red dye on them. And when McCoy saw it, he was about to jump on the table. He's like, "Look at that food!" And I'm like, "It's celery, brother."
It wasn't out of the replicator. Somebody opened up the actual refrigerator. Captain's mess. But yeah, everybody's decked out in their dress uniforms. Scotty's like, "What, is Spock's dad back on board? What's going on?" And they're all like, "Well, Lieutenant MacGyver thought it'd be a great idea to welcome Khan to the 23rd century, yada, 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 and get to know him better." And at first it comes off to me like, this is dumb. Why would you do this? But Kirk.
It's a good idea.
Kirk's on his game.
Yep.
He's on his game right now. So they're preparing for dinner. Khan Khan strolls up in his freshly replicated gold suit and wanders into MacGyver's quarters.
Now they can get him a Emperor's jacket, but in the next scene he's wearing a red shirt uniform. Like I'm not going to pick too much on it, but I'm just saying. Like,
no, I know what that was. That was part of the mental game between he and Kirk.
Okay.
Khan behaved badly at dinner.
Oh, okay. So he took his good clothes.
So he got pajamas.
Got pajamas.
He got pajamas and sent to his room.
Yeah.
Is what that was.
I can buy that. I'm okay with it.
Because not only did he get a red shirt uniform, he got a no rank crewman.
Yeah, it's
a blank red shirt.
He
uniform.
got an E1 private.
Yeah, he got
a private uniform.
That's a far fall from an ambassador outfit. Private guard.
Yeah, he had like this gold vest on. It didn't even have any fasteners on the outside. Tailored, embroidered. Yeah,
tailored. He's strolls into MacGyver's quarters like, so you're walking me to dinner, right? And she's like, yes, I am. But
then she shows him her etchings.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he walks around. He starts recognizing
all the
Leif
greats,
Erikson,
the conquerors.
Napoleon, and all this, and goes, "You got a fantasy towards powerful men." And and then he walks over to the one covered, pulls it back,
and it's him. And he has that moment that every man has every at certain times. He goes in his mind. He said, "I got her now." So, but Khan is like, I'm your kind of man. Don't play. Don't pretend you're not. Don't pretend it's not so. And we speculate there was pre-dinner festivities.
Could have been.
Yeah, because they kiss.
Could have been.
Because they kiss.
So at the dinner.
But then again, a later scene says maybe it was just a kiss.
So at the dinner. When they're having the conversations and the wine is flowing and the Romulan ale is being romulated, the guard goes down, the ego kicks in again.
Well, intentionally or not, as Khan calls it out, Spock engages him.
That was intentional.
It's not just that. It's just the basic
it's the social setting,
basic conversations. Well, what do you believe, what was going on in this generation? You're a man of that generation. From our point of view, it was barbaric. It was this, it was that. And, what is your point of view? Well, it wasn't that barbaric.
We brought order.
Right. We brought order. Khan gets defensive over the generation. If he could have just left it ambiguous.
Well, but then that's how deep does it go? Was the choice of words deliberate? Or was Spock just calling it like he saw it?
I think Spock was giving an opportunity for the truth to make its way to the surface.
I think that what Spock was trying to do was he was following a certain thread of logic.
Yeah.
And that was to get Khan thinking a certain way. And then when Khan picks up on it, he goes, very smart, very good, Captain. Your tactics here are brilliant. You let your second in command attack, and then you observe for weaknesses. And immediately Kirk goes, you fled. Were you afraid? You know what I mean?
What's good in the scene, though, I remember thinking the first time I saw the scene that Khan might have been overreacting and that it wasn't the intent. But when I watched it today, yes, because Spock's talking, Khan's replying, and they're showing Kirk's face, and Kirk's not saying a word, but he's assessing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he's assessing Khan.
Of course, he's assessing. So he's sitting back and watching. Khan is right in his assessment. Khan is absolutely right in his assessment what Kirk was doing. Mm-hmm. The issue becomes Khan's defensiveness of the position he held.
He slips.
He could have had the conversation and from an ambiguous point.
Right.
Oh, they they, not we, we're doing this to this, that,
Yeah,
and the other.
what he ends up doing is confirming his identity.
What he ends up doing is confirming that he was part of what transpired at that time. Now he could have put himself in as just a human that lived in that time,
Right.
or an engineer that lived in that time, and talked about it dispassionately, or removed from the inner circle fight. Yeah, I was there. We had a ship. We got out of there.
I wasn't Hitler. I just lived in Germany.
Right.
Right.
But
Or you know what? I was a rich guy.
But when he got defensive, and then Kirk makes a point, Khan, you talking military terms.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Of victory and loss and this, that, everything. You looking at everything from a militaristic point of view.
And he also optimizes any opportunity that Khan may be vulnerable to when it comes to social pressures, because he calls him out. He goes, "This is a dinner,
Right.
Yeah.
and this is social. In other words, we're not here to talk war."
And Khan says social activities are war concealed.
Right. Exactly.
And some of us prefer more honest
Right.
pursuits.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, he said, "Understand that you want me to be civil here, but I actually want to backhand you at
Yeah.
this table.
I'm actually ready to get it on.
I'm ready to get it on."
Right.
Yeah.
And Khan continues his defense of the time period. He says, we offered the world order. And he says eventually one man would have ruled like Caesar over Rome. Like Khan's like, no, it was a good thing. Even all the bloodshed and everything and all the conflict eventually would have resulted in an ordered world ruled by one person. And he thought that was a good thing. And then, of course, he goes, once he realizes he's kind of overplayed his hand, he withdraws. He says, I grow fatigued.
I grow fatigued.
Yeah, the delivery of how he says that all the time in the episode is great, because it's dismissive. He's retreating, but there's still no concession of I'm still the man. I'm dismissing you now. I'm tired of playing your game.
Right.
I grow fatigued. We're going to stop now.
Right.
You know, when actually it's like, oh, okay, you got me.
But I don't, like I said before, I don't think it's in the character to play it any way than he played it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he had more guile, he could have gotten what he wanted anyway without all the drama that we went through. But because of the arrogance of the character, I'm better than you. He tells Kirk this flat out at one point.
He tells him,
I'm better than you.
I'm stronger than you. I'm smarter than you.
Yeah, I'm better than you. You're a flea, you know.
Yeah. Well, when in the next scene when he gets downgraded to red pajamas, he tells Kirk, I'm disappointed that men have not improved.
Yeah.
Men are still weak.
Yeah, you got stuff.
You got stuff.
You got stuff. You got transporters. You got ships. You got stuff. But y'all the same weak Joes you always were.
Yeah. And right about then, Kirk probably should have been introducing him to the high-tech airlock. But so Khan retreats from dinner.
So he retreats from dinner, but Kirk is still in his safety.
Kirk's think he still has it under control.
Because he doesn't think there's a way for Khan to physically get through the barriers that are in the ship.
Right.
The locked door should have been enough.
The crew.
But he underestimated Khan's physical capabilities, and he underestimates Khan's mental capabilities.
He does.
Now they learn quickly.
They do.
They actually survive because the Miss
MacGyver's. Yeah.
turns back
From the dark.
She double traders.
Yeah.
So
she got off easy, but we'll get there. Speaking of which, Khan retreats from dinner and goes to his quarters.
Oh my goodness.
And this scene.
I don't know.
I don't know how this will play today. But
No, not well.
Yeah, but
just even talking about it is tough, because it's like,
no, it's not.
He manipulates her something fierce.
Yeah, what this is it's an acceleration of what he was going to do anyway. he's no longer going to wait. He pushes it and moves because of what happens at dinner. He's in his quarters, and we get a very brief moment where he's by himself, and you can see that he's steaming. And she comes in like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. They shouldn't have treated you that way." And he grabs her and he's like, "Do you know who I am? Or do you think you know who I am?" And she says, "I know you." And he's thinking, "Oh, she really knows who I am." Mm-hmm. But then she says, "No, you're Alexander, you're Napoleon, you're those, you're this archetype of the conqueror." And he's kind of like, "Oh, okay." Had she really been like, "You're Khan Nguyen Singh," that might have been it for her. Maybe.
Think he might have killed her right there?
The way he reacted, I don't know. Cause the game's up then. If they got his name full, if they got his whole government name, the game's up for him, and he knows it. But she's all like, "Oh, you're a magnificent conqueror from the 20th century, and
you're better than all.
You're better than all of them." And so he pushes. He makes his move. She
backs up.
She backs up. He's like, "Hey, don't play games with me. Stay, go, but whatever you decide to do it because it's what you want to do." She's conflicted, which, okay. And he's like, "Fine, get out. Now you can't stay." And she's like, "No, I want to stay." And he's like, "Okay, well, now you got to ask to stay." And he's breaking her. He's literally breaking her.
You see it in real time.
Yeah, you see it in real time.
You see it in real time. And it's amazing when you look at it. It's like, geez, oh, peace. This is how it's done. This is what some will accept. So each time she's given an opportunity to make a choice.
Yeah.
When she doesn't make the choice he wants her to make, he rejects her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to be rejected.
Right.
So she has to alter.
So she complies.
She has to alter her choice, and then he makes it harder for her to comply.
Right.
She has to give up more
control.
So the first choice he gives her, she rejects. The next time he gives her a choice to make, it's harder than the previous choice. He keeps making her submit more and more of her own free will.
Right.
From a choice she initially didn't want.
She's giving away her freedom.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of definitions floating around, the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, right? So the latest one I heard, and I was like, "Oh, a sociopath doesn't care about people's feelings. A psychopath doesn't care about people's lives." And what he was doing here was like, he's definitely coming off as a sociopath, with the way that he's manipulating her. But where he crosses the line is he says, "I'm going to take this ship," and she goes,
"No,
don't ask me to do that." And then he pushes her harder, and she says, "You're not going to hurt anybody." Right. So in other words, she's trying to find out, is this guy a sociopath? Like, he doesn't care about people's feelings, or is he really going to kill people? And then when he kind of throws her, literally throws her to the ground when she makes that comment.
But you forgot, open your heart.
Oh yeah, well
that's after he's creepy. Squeezing her hand.
Yeah.
So he throws her away, and she comes back, and he takes her by the hand, and then he makes her kneel.
Yeah, he's hurting her.
He's inflicting pain to make her bow before him.
Yeah.
And while he's doing that, while he's hurting her, he tells her, open your heart. I'm like, come on.
Give me your heart. Yeah.
Come on.
And he breaks her. And then, to Jake's point, he's like, "Oh, and by the way, I'm going to take the ship. You're going to help me." And she already knows she's lost. She already knows she's not going to say no, but she's looking for the caveat, like, "Well, you're not going to hurt anybody, are you?" It's like,
yeah, and here's the thing. I will tell you, I don't believe she broke. He bent her.
He bent her.
But if he broke her, she wouldn't have done what she did
later.
Yeah.
True. She, in that moment, she surrenders to him.
Yes.
And what he is. She surrenders to his power. But you're right. He hasn't broken her. She's bent, though. She's bent.
She's morally compromised.
Absolutely. She betrays her oath to Starfleet, and she got off easy. But I digress.
Well, she ultimately gets a death sentence.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
So the very next scene after that, but without her talking to anybody, they already know completely who he is.
Figured him out.
Yep.
Hanunian Singh.
They got a picture of him when he was revived.
That's right.
And they got a picture of him in his palace. They got him
last,
totally laid out.
The last tyrant, the greatest of them.
They're going through there. They got his rap sheet. They're reading it off.
They got his Pokemon card. They're like,
yep. They got
reverse
the
hollow.
They got the little spreadsheet that shows strength, endurance.
That's right.
His Superman stat card.
Look at those 1800 across the board.
Yep.
And what's funny is they're talking about him in such a way that Spock's like, hold on.
Right.
You guys are nutting. That's what he was saying. You're nutting.
Yeah, they're sitting there like, oh, he was a bad dude.
Yeah.
He was a bad dude. He was something else. He controlled a third of the planet. And Spock was like, he's terrible. What are you guys talking about? And they're like,
Scotty's like, I've got to admit, he was my favorite.
He's my favorite.
It's like us talking about Genghis Khan now.
Yeah.
That killed millions of guys, but then he had some special things. He didn't kill priests and all that stuff.
Sure.
And you think about how much he conquered.
Alexander.
Well, they even said though, and this is the one thing, like we're critical about writing and directing and acting and everything like that. But I don't think we don't focus always on the negative. Like we always said that from the beginning of doing this channel. But the thing is one of the things they admired most about him was that he didn't attack until someone attacked him. They even said it. They go
and the people under his rule
lived.
There were no massacres. There were no. They lived a relatively good life, even though he ruled with an iron hand, apparently.
But what they admired about him, and maybe it was fictionalized over time, because Khan does not demonstrate that behavior, because he attacks before he's provoked.
True, he does
in the episode, and that's a basic character thing that I think that you're saying, like, well, why was Kirk so liberal with this, and why didn't he do this, that, and the other stuff? Because if truly he was portrayed as a guy who was like, yeah, he was smarter, he was better, but you know what? He kind of ran the way that he ran his kingdom. He was like, if you leave me alone, I'm not going to bother you. And when he was attacked, he responded.
Right.
So I think there was this fictionalized portrayal of him that they admired, because the first opportunity he gets,
he attacks.
Right. Well, he's planning to attack from the moment he wakes up in sickbay.
Yes.
Yeah.
5 minutes after he wakes up, he's like, okay, yeah.
Well, listen, here's what I can excuse it a little bit, because he doesn't know whose hands he's fallen into. Right?
Sure.
And at some point he goes, did I hear 200 years? So I don't think he knows that maybe he's been asleep for 50 years and all of a sudden the governments that overthrew him have found him. And him being a little bit hyper aggressive in that point, I get. But as soon as he kind of starts to figure out the lay of the land, you think the last thing he would want. I mean, I guess if I was Khan, I would want to get to a star base and get these tactical people away from me.
Yeah.
Because I would want to deal with ambassadors and all this other stuff. And
people I can manipulate.
People that I can manipulate more. Because if you must be crazy if you think that you can manipulate the senior crew of any kind of a warship. Like,
if you play your cards right, you end up in a room full of MacGyvers.
Yeah.
People that want to poke and prod you and talk to you about the 20th century and study you, and they're looking at you as this wonderful oddity from the past.
Yeah.
And you can run them.
Yeah. Go for the slow game.
Right. And that's what I was talking about earlier. You get your people thawed out. You play science project for a while, and you take over. You make your move later.
Yeah.
After you get to learn some stuff.
But I think that's kind of where it lulled them into this false sense of because it was like the picture that was painted of him is that even though he was a tyrant and everything, he was fair.
Yeah.
And he didn't attack until he was provoked.
Right. He wasn't needlessly cruel.
Right.
And to Daystrom's point, Kirk feels like he has it under control because his blind spot is that he's not understanding the MacGyver aspect of it. He's not understanding what's happening to one of his own crew. That's the linchpin.
So Khan is a triple threat. He's physically capable. Mm-hmm. He's mentally capable. And he has charisma.
Right. Magnetism is what they call it.
Khan's got it all. The only downfall Khan has is his arrogance.
Yeah.
Khan's got it all. If Khan would have played the long game, he probably could have been running a Federation base.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got the magnetism.
Yeah.
But his arrogance gets him thrown out in trouble. Gets him in trouble.
Right.
You know, when I think about it more, I'm like, what did MacGyver really do for him?
Nothing.
I mean, did she get him the classified tapes? Is the only thing I can think of. Like,
no, what she did is coming up. What she actually did is coming up. He read the schematics and understood.
She probably got him access.
Oh no! I don't know what she did. She got him onto his ship.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. She
Okay.
Got all his people free.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, because I'm like, you know, what's a historian going to give you? Like, you know, like watercolors or something. You know.
So yeah, the boys confuse Spock with their admiration for a tyrant, and then Kirk goes down to Khan's quarters. Kirk, now, in defense of Kirk, we say he had a blind spot, but at this moment,
oh yeah, he's focused.
Kirk says, lock that door, put a guard on him, and somewhere in there he got his pajamas. So Kirk's on the game now. Kirk's like, all right. And to your earlier point, in the context of everything he knows, he's done. Nobody thinks you can pry a bulkhead door open with your bare hands.
There's that big.
Right.
That's why Kirk was secure.
Right.
Yeah.
You've locked the door. Nobody else on the ship can get out if the door is locked.
Maybe Spock.
No, Spock can't even do it. You've locked the door and you put a bully boy outside. He was a big one. He was a good-sized bully boy. I give him to him. He should have been standing across the hall from the door, and it should have been two of them. I might even put a third guy down the hall just to let him have it when he stepped outside. But Kirk's taking what he thinks is reasonable precautions. Now, I don't understand the habit in this show of locking hostile people in bedrooms. You have a brig. We've seen it. You see the brig in Mirror Mirror in a couple other episodes. Yeah. There is a brig.
There's a brig on remote stations.
Yes, there's a brig.
Like a brig is like bathroom, brig, bathroom, meeting room, brig.
Yes, there is. But these metal doors in metal walls with magnetic locks.
I'm sorry.
Should be enough for the average guy.
No, I'm sorry. Once I determine you're a bad person, you're going to the force field booth. You're going to the brig.
But you gotta get them from where they are to the force field booth, and that's an opportunity for them to do something.
It looked like a Red Shirt convention in that hallway. He knock a couple heads off, but he's going down. He's going down. I'll tell him, march to the brig or y'all phaser your ship with all your sleeping people.
I wouldn't even ask him. I'd phaser him and he'd wake up.
Yeah, he'd wake up in the brig. Door opened up, blue bolt, pow, down. He wake up.
But he could have done a Gary Mitchell. You know, maybe he can work himself through that force field. You know,
no, he's strong, but he's not telekinetic.
Yeah.
So, but anyhow. Khan's getting the courtesy, locked in the room. Khan's sitting there noodling out the last steps of his plan, how he's going to take this ship.
Yes.
And Kirk walks in thinking he's holding the cards, and he's like, yeah, Khan, I know who you are now. And
now it's time for answers.
Now you're going to tell me what I want to know. And that's when Khan's like, you guys have not improved at all. You know, you guys are still weak. Or your technological advancements are cool, but you guys are still weak. I'm superior. You know, you're not.
What Khan is simply saying, if this was turned around and I was walking in, I'd just phaser you.
Yeah.
I would just shoot you, be done with it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go a little bit. What is it when you speak about something that's holy and you kind of go blasphemy. So I'll go a bit blasphemous here. The one thing I liked about Into Darkness was the idea that the Admiral kind of struck a deal with Khan to get some stuff out of him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That
Like,
he
you can
wanted.
imagine what that conversation was. It's like, I understand you're superior. I understand this, that, and the other stuff. Why don't you show me, help me build a ship, help me design weapons that I'm going to be needing, you know, in an eventual war. Like,
Yeah.
that shows you the other side of what the conversation could have been.
Yeah.
Like Kirk was just basically just saying, "You're going to tell me who you are," and Khan says no, and that's the kind of the end of it. Whereas in like with Admiral, what was his name? Marcus.
Marcus.
It seems like the Marcus conversation was this: I'll grant you you're superior to us, this, that, and the other stuff, but what good is it going to do me?
Right.
What can you do for me?
And oh, by the way, Khan, Mr. Superior Dude, you and your people don't go anywhere unless I say so.
Right.
So play ball.
Right.
Now, Khan ultimately manipulated him in that movie, but
Right.
but that was the crux of it.
Right.
He thought he had the appropriate leverage.
The difference between Kirk and Marcus is that Marcus at least got some product from the
He did. He got
from the negotiation.
yeah. He
Kirk
got a
didn't get
killer
anything.
starship out of the deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kirk got a beating.
Yeah.
But
Well, Marcus got a beating too.
Marcus got dead. But so, but the
He got the Tyrell death.
yeah, but the exchange
Fingers in the eyes.
the exchange between Kirk and Khan again is Khan's telling Kirk to his face, I'm better than you. And Kirk's kind of like, no, you're not. You're not. And that's why you're sitting here locked in this room, and because you're not. You know, and that's kind of where it leaves off. But again, to your point, Kirk gets up and leaves feeling good about himself. I'm still in control. And I love how in this episode some basic yoga breathing techniques are made to look so menacing. Khan gets his he gets his deep breath going, and you're just like, oh, here we go.
He unlocking the power.
He's like,
He's
oh.
unlocking the power.
Yeah, he's like,
You know what I thought was a good choice for Sir William, though? When he left, he could have just walked out of the door and you could have just seen his back.
yeah.
But he went outside the door and he turned and he looked and
He looked
let
at
the door
Khan.
and he let the door shut in front of him.
He's like, you're locked in.
Well, I think it was more of I will I know you're going to do something. When you are, I'm going to be standing between you and my crew.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I got from it. Because he could have just walked out of there.
Yeah.
And you would have just seen his back and the door closed, but he turns and he looks at him, and it was almost like a challenge. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm ready for you when you're ready to make your move.
Yeah. And
Kirk wasn't ready.
Kirk
He wasn't
was
ready.
He didn't have the MacGyver angle figured out. He didn't. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, Khan didn't need the MacGyver angle to get past the locked door and the bully boy. Khan just needed a couple of yoga breathing and the unlocking of that super soldier power.
Yeah,
How about that hit? Do you think that
He
red
flipped
shirt,
him. He
you
probably
think that
broke
red
his
shirt,
neck.
Yeah, you think that red shirt
he
survived
should
that?
no. He should be dead.
He should
a hit
survive
that takes you A over apple cart
To the head.
to the head.
Should have broke his neck.
You should have heard a loud cracking sound.
Yep.
I don't even know how they did that scene.
That dude jumped back.
He did a back. The stuntman did a backflip.
He did a backflip. Okay.
on the cue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a
It
backflip.
was a good. It was a
Yeah.
good look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was well done. But
I felt it.
yeah, it hurt.
Yeah.
Khan,
It's so good.
and he opens the
You
door.
gotta get the.
And he opens the bulkhead door.
Gets
And-
his fingers in and he yanks.
And the choreography is good because he does it quickly. The door gives, he gets out there fast. And there's not this clumsy choreography where the security guard kind of stands there too long.
No.
Security guard turns like, what the? And kind of, pow!
Kapow.
And he's off and running. And then they cut to the transporter room. And poor Mr. Kyle standing there minding his own business, wearing light blue coveralls today because
Yeah.
Mr. Kyle wears all the colors depending on what episode it is.
Right.
The traitor comes in with a phaser.
Yep.
It's like, hold it. And they take over the transporter room. And Khan, because he's read the blueprints of the ship, makes a beeline for the transporter room. And Mr. Kyle gets the genetically superior human version of the neck pinch. He gets choked out.
No, he gets 2 thumbs in the back of his head.
Yeah,
I think is what it was.
Yeah, like 2 fingers on his neck and 2 fingers on his neck and choked out. They beam over to the ship, wake up the crew.
Everybody's stretching.
Yeah, so there's lots of deep breathing going on.
And we get to see rank insignia on their uniforms. Because he's got three crescent moons above and below a central.
And his boy Joachim's got 2. Now I was trying to figure out, is that Joachim in the movie? It's his son, but I think his name is Joachim though. So I didn't know if it was supposed to be the same character or not. That was just something that crossed my mind.
Well, his son in Wrath of Khan looked like he was 35. This would only give them 15 years. I mean, the kid would only be 14 years old. But I don't know, maybe genetically, the eugenics, they mature quicker or something like that. But
who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it should have been a 14-year-old kid.
It should have been his son with MacGyver. And you're right. He should have been 14, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. But
it could have been his son from a wife when he was on Earth or something. Yeah.
But then there should have been a 14-year-old kid on a red jumpsuit.
Yeah, a 10-year-old boy or something.
Yeah, 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
But
nothing's perfect. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So
it had the same name.
He's got his guys.
There's deep breathing.
The girls.
Does this make you feel like when you're a little kid, if you could just get some deep breathing going, you could like...
I thought of that too.
Did it make you feel that way when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm strong. You know, I'm strong. I got good breath.
So the next thing we see ship systems being locked out.
Well, what happens off camera is they rush the vital parts of the ship, and they take over engineering. They take over auxiliary control.
No one notices the beam over of 72 people onto 6 pads.
Yeah. And
nobody in engineering was like, boy, somebody's using the hell out of the transporter right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that part. So they cut to the bridge. Systems are going offline. They lose control.
And remember, these cats had to walk from A to B.
Yeah.
They had to go from the transporter to auxiliary command.
To the engineer.
Yeah.
Turbo lift.
Well, I guess if you're not on security alert, people are just like, there's just 72 guys walking around here now.
Well, no, there's 400 people on the ship, and they should have had to fight their way up and down every hallway.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not going to say initially they couldn't have done it, but one person hit the alarm.
Right.
And it should have been on.
Yeah. Now, if you're walking through the corridor and you're seeing bodies stacked up, I get it.
Yeah.
But if they went from A to B, that's the only part where I was a little bit like, a little bit of plot armor here.
Well, they very quickly, they take engineering, they take auxiliary control, they take the armory.
Right.
They make a point of telling you they've taken the armory.
Yeah.
And then they cut off the bridge, cut life support, and, he's like, surrender, Kirk, I've got your ship. And Kirk refuses to surrender. And only now, as he falls out of his chair to take a nap, does Kirk realize he's made a mistake.
Well, him and Spock, they talk about it.
Yeah. And
he goes, this dude, he cut us off from this. He cut us off. This dude's very smart.
Right. And they try all the contingencies, the anti-intruder.
He's a step ahead of us.
Yeah. The anti-intruder gas is not working. They're in a bad spot.
Yep.
And everybody gets to take a little oxygen-deprived nap.
Yep. Which could have been a permanent nap.
Uhura gets brain damage again. It's not good. It's not good to be on a starship sometimes.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, the contrivance is Khan wants to see if he can turn some more of the crew. But they wake up in the conference room. They're being held. Kirk's not there, and Khan's like, join me.
Well, Khan needs them.
Right.
He needs their information.
He needs
their know-how.
He needs the know-how for the running of that ship.
Yeah.
It's not the ship he was in.
And that's a good point, because it's good writing, because Khan learned enough from the schematics to take the ship, but he recognizes he can't run the ship.
Yeah, it's one thing to shut off some life support. The next thing is, can you maneuver a starship at warp speed and handle the weapons?
Not warp, just maneuver it, period.
Yeah. Can you navigate?
It's not like you go to the control panel and everything's labeled.
Right. Yeah.
It's not labeled.
Can you navigate? Can you navigate in 3 dimensions, which is what they do? Plot a course.
What's funny, since I've been doing the flight sim stuff, the endless controls and knobs and screens do multiple things, and the buttons, what the button does might change depending on what the screen is.
Mm-hmm.
So button A does one thing for screen 1. You put screen 2 in that same spot, button 1 does something completely different.
Right.
Just because you have this general knowledge does not mean you can run a starship.
Right.
It's a total. It's like the Alien movie where they take over. The aliens send them to a planet and they beat the wolf alien and they beat the other alien. They're going to get in the alien starship and fly off somewhere. Fly off where?
Yeah, you're not going anywhere.
Do you even know where your home planet is? Do you know how to navigate? Do you know how to control a ship?
And they stayed consistent with that in Wrath of Khan. They struggled with operating the Reliant effectively.
Yep, 100%.
That's how Kirk survived. They were novices at running a starship.
So at this point, when he's trying to get the crew to join him, because we're gonna kill Kirk.
Well, he hasn't even made that threat yet.
Hasn't. He tries to get Uhura to turn on the screen. She won't. She takes a couple of punches to the face.
Joachim slaps her. It's a rough scene, but I like the way they wrote it in that how Uhura reacts. She doesn't recoil in fear.
No.
She's like, "You hit me, bro." She's ready to go at it with this dude, and he's clearly, physically stronger, all these things. But she's looking at him like, "Dude, I'm gonna get you.
Don't let me get a hold of a phaser.
I'm gonna get you.
Let me get a hold of a phaser. You're gonna have a very bad day.
Let me get my mirror knife. I'm gonna shank you, boy. I'm gonna shank. She's looking at him like, bro, I'm gonna get you.
But it always, when you watch movies and where the villain gets somebody and they threaten everybody with the life of this one guy, and they always cave.
Right.
These cats on the Enterprise, they're not caving. You gonna kill it? Well. Kirk knew what it's like to be.
It's a real response.
Kirk knew what it's like to be the captain.
We are not helping you. This is our duty. Kirk would want us to help you.
He goes, "You guys are gonna go one by one." They're like, okay.
Yeah.
They make me first, so I don't have to watch everybody die.
The ensign in the corner should have looked at him and like, "Do you know what they do to you when you leave a pylon open? I'm not helping you. I'm not helping you." And they should have been looking at MacGyver like, "Girl.
Yeah, you're cooked.
We're gonna get you no matter what. You're done." That was one thing I had. There should have been like rage. There should have been like kill MacGyver no matter what.
Well, I think what they understood is that MacGyver was a zero-sum equation at that point.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even worth any time for them, especially like a Scotty and a Spock and everything, because there's no way that they would consider her to be anything after this.
Yeah.
And I think they were just, to your point, it's like
she's done.
Yeah.
She's a non-entity at that point.
Yeah. She's cooked.
Yeah. That could have very easily been written up in the log. Captain's log, retook the ship, Khan gone, MacGyver court-martialed, phasered on the spot. Closed record. That could have easily been.
This is why Vader was so beloved as a villain. He was not your average villain. He was calm and collected. I'm talking about the original movie.
Yeah.
He wasn't coming in yelling and screaming at people, because Khan gets animated.
Yeah, Khan gets animated.
You won't do what I tell you to do. He's getting animated.
Well, it's his arrogance, to your point.
It's his arrogance. But
he can't understand why they don't see his vision.
But the point I'm making is Vader's calm. He picks the captain up and says, "Oh, you did it." There's no concern.
Right.
In Vader, and that's more menacing than a dude foaming at the mouth in front of you.
Right. And but you nail it on the head though. Khan's giving the recruiting speech, and it's blowing his mind that nobody wants to get on board. He's mad. He's like, "Don't you know who I am? Don't you know how great I am? Don't you know what the great things I want to do? Join me. Why don't you want to join me?" And it's like, because you're a maniacal knucklehead and we're not going to help you. You know.
and we're willing to die.
And he's like, but I'm Khan. And they're like, we don't care.
Yeah, we don't care.
You're all going in the chamber. Okay.
That, like you say, you know what the Federation does to you? If you leave an atomic pile open?
Yeah, it's like
you're done anyway. You're cooked.
Better dead with a posthumous commendation saying I resisted Khan than alive with you sided with Khan? Oh yeah, well yeah, we got something for you, buddy. We got something for you.
Yeah.
So Uhura eventually turns on the view screen, and you see Kirk in the chamber and they're suffocating him. Actually, you guys pointed out they're more than suffocating him. They're changing. They're decompressing him. They're changing atmospheres on him.
By logic, by the laws of nature, he should have died regardless.
Yeah, or had to stay in the chamber.
Yeah, got in the bends.
Got in the bends real bad.
The bends will kill you.
The bends will kill you. Yeah. So they're decompressing him, and MacGyver's chokes. She's like, "Do I have to watch this?" And Khan's like, "I'd hoped you'd had a better stomach. I'd hoped you'd been stronger, but go ahead and leave."
So this may not be very popular. Okay, so the assumption is that MacGyver's been pretty naive up until this point. You know what I think changes MacGyver's mind?
When nobody
That's
bends.
right. When nobody.
So she gets upset when Uhura gets slapped.
Yeah. She doesn't like seeing Uhura get abused.
She knows all the people that she been worked with up to this point. None of them will bend like she did.
Nope.
They will all die. Now she's got a choice.
She knows she's on the losing side.
She's got to make a choice. Because even if Khan kills them, he's still stuck.
Yeah.
Well,
he can't maneuver.
Yeah.
He can't maneuver the ship.
Yeah.
And the end game, if you look at big picture, the end game. Let's say Khan figures the Enterprise out enough to move it around. At some point, it's Admiral Cartwright and 4 other starships, and it's the end.
Yep.
It's the end.
Yeah.
Well, it takes Starfleet 100 years to find.
No. The Enterprise is in Federation space on their way to a star base.
Yeah, that's right.
No, this is going to be short lived.
Yeah.
They're going to run him down.
Yeah.
And they're going to kill him.
Yeah.
There's no world. There's no world outside of this where
there's no win for Khan.
There's no win for Khan.
No. And I think people are thinking like, oh well, she had to come to
change of heart,
everything. Yeah. I think she very coldly and calmly looked at this.
She did the math.
I'm on the wrong side. I'm going to lose. So let me see if I can at least save my face.
Right.
Okay.
Although I could counter argue, she knows what she's done and she knows how Starfleet is. She probably should have pushed the envelope with Khan, just knowing there's nothing good waiting for her on the Starfleet.
If you're standing there, if you're, and let's be frank about this, she's a Mo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody of any
and you're
importance.
staring across the room at Spock,
at all the top people,
Scotty, Uhura, McCoy, and I'm on the other side of the table,
and none of them are budging.
No,
none of them. Just imagine how
he even says to them. He goes, "If one of you will join me, only one."
Even Lieutenant Not Sulu does not move.
That's right.
None of them are budging.
Even Lieutenant Not Sulu does not move.
How many movies did we watch where the villain threatens somebody? The villain kills somebody just to kill them for some stupid reason to show how evil he is.
Yeah.
And then he threatens and everybody caves.
No.
I got to give in. Star Trek, nobody budged. Yeah. Not a tear. Oh, the captain's going to die? Not a tear.
Yep.
Oh, well.
They smacked Uhura, and I didn't see anybody jump up.
Nope.
They're just like, listen.
Except for Uhura.
Except for her.
Uhura was like, I'm going to get mine back.
Yeah, I'm going to get mine.
I still like the way they did
think
that.
she was like, you know what? I'm not going to win.
You're not going to survive this, buddy. I'm getting my payback.
I'm getting you. Yeah. That's good writing. That's strong female character. That's there you go. Yeah. There you go. That's how you do that. But so she goes down. She goes down, of course, to the chamber and she rescues Kirk. she rescues Kirk, and by then they've decided.
And then she says, "Don't kill him."
Yeah.
And you know what Kirk said? Nothing.
Kirk. She put the phaser in Kirk's hand. And she's like, "Don't kill him." He looked at her like, "Girl, you stupid."
So while she goes down, she knocks out the screen,
Yeah.
so they couldn't see him. Then she frees Kirk,
Mm-hmm.
and then
they're bringing
Khan sends his
sends
buddy
Spock
down. With Spock, now you done put the two guys who shouldn't be together together.
Yeah.
And they both now are armed.
Yeah. Spock. They bend the corner. She pulls the phaser. Dude's not phased. He's getting ready to work her over, but Spock's like, "Take a nap."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Take a nap." Yeah, like you said, now the band is back together again. Kirk and Spock got phasers, and they're on the loose.
Yep.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
So it's Kirk's like nerve gas the entire place.
Kirk's like, put everybody in bed.
Everybody but this floor.
Everybody to sleep.
He said, "I don't care. Put Uhura back to sleep.
Everybody
put
going.
Scotty to sleep. Put
Oh, one of
Bones
the
to sleep."
greatest, one of the greatest Scotty moments comes to fruition.
Spotty said, "Before I get out of here, I'm getting me some payback."
So yeah,
You gotta watch it close. You gotta watch it close because we missed it.
The gas comes into the room.
Yeah.
The gas comes into the room. Scotty jumps up out the chair.
Hold on. Khan catches it first. Khan books.
Yeah, Khan runs out the room. Scotty jumps up out the chair and delivers a haymaker to one of Khan's dudes, and then he runs out the room.
Scotty takes the time to punch a dude before. Now, was that the guy that hit Uhura? Because that would
No,
be
it wasn't. It wasn't the guy.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't the guy either.
I'm gonna think that it is. I'm gonna remember it that it's the guy that hit Uhura.
No, it wasn't Joachim.
No, he gives him that left
Drops
hand.
her. Your jaw's not genetically engineered.
Scotty said, "I'm getting my payback now. I ain't waiting."
I might be going to sleep, and I'm gonna pow.
So I'm having some pleasant dreams off of this game.
We rewound it a couple of times because it's worth watching, man. Scotty jumps up and just decks the guy.
You would think he would just run out, but he actually lays into him. That's so funny.
So then he's out in the hallway choking, and Kirk runs up to him and he goes, "Where's Khan?" He goes, "I don't know. He got out."
And then he's overcome by the gas.
And then Spock starts getting on the PA. Kirk is now in hallway B. Now he's in hallway C. Now he's heading towards engineer.
And Khan's in engineering
Khan's
listening.
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
So Khan's down in engineering, sets the engines on overload, gonna blow the ship, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
No, it's a point. So Khan's still thinking that I can blackmail.
I can stop.
I can make you do what I want
you to do,
by coercion. He should have got it from the first. When they were willing to let the captain die and all go to the chamber, what difference is blowing the ship up?
Yeah. That's where it was a little bit of a disconnect for me. It's like, it doesn't fit the character. He's like, "Oh, sour grapes, I'm gonna blow myself and all my people up to get Kirk." So, but you're right. It's
another.
Hey, I'm playing Kirk. I'll blow the ship up. You better surrender.
Yeah, it wasn't needed because you could have just put Khan to sleep with everybody else and then cut to the hearing.
Or you could have even had Khan like heading for the shuttle bay trying to get off the ship.
I think what it was is from a writing standpoint is that they wanted to diminish Khan down to what was the great line in what was the Bruce Willis movie about the terrorists?
Die Hard?
Die Hard. She says to him, "You're nothing more than a common criminal," and he goes, "I am anything but common.
I'm an exceptional criminal."
Right. It's like with Khan going to blow up the ship, what does he really become? He's just like
a terrorist.
He's just a terrorist at this point. He's just somebody who's like, I can't get my way, so I'm going to kill myself and kill everybody else. And that brings him down enough where Kirk can handle him with the Khan pipe.
Yeah. So Khan's down in engineering baking a cake for Kirk because Spock's told him he's coming.
That's right.
And Kirk runs through the door with the phaser, and he wasn't going to kill him, honest. No, he wasn't going to kill him at all. Khan snatches Kirk up like a child, snatches the phaser out of his hand, and completely crushes it. Bends it on both ends, just balls it up like a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's strong.
Well, they did that so you could see the strength.
Yeah.
See the strength difference. Because up to that point, other than the door,
Yeah.
this is the true examination. of the difference in strength between him and Kirk.
I'm sorry. If he can do that, he snapped Kirk's neck like a twig.
He should have.
He said just,
He should have.
and that should have been the end.
One good punch should have killed Kirk.
Should have killed Kirk. Yeah.
But all he did is mostly throw him around.
Threw him around, smacked him around a little bit.
How about those stunt doubles?
Oh, they're terrible.
At least these two were in shape. I know when you were groaning about it, but I looked and I was like, well, at least they're not fat.
Well, we remember the show as kids.
Yeah.
As kids, I love the Kirk fight. We still talk about it, joking about the pipe. We love the fight, but the stunt actors were terrible.
When you're watching it on a 19-inch Zenith black and white TV
it's fantastic.
At like 100 resolution.
Right, on 100 DPI.
100 DPI.
You might be 15 inches from the TV watching this little screen.
Yeah. It's like, yep. It's like, yep, that's Kirk.
A 19-inch. You know how big that is? It's like that.
Yeah.
But when you're watching it on 4K high definition
80-inch
75 inches.
Boy.
Ooh. But well.
But it wasn't bad as that
mirror.
It wasn't bad as that stunt double for a horror.
Yeah,
my God. I almost poked my eyes out over that.
But finally, because Khan stops the monologue a little bit.
Hit the button.
Oh man.
The fight. Hold on.
Because Khan stops the monologue a little bit and he's throwing Kirk around. I'm trying to talk here. So
we can hear you.
But so we get the moment. We get the moment that makes this one of our favorite episodes.
The Khan pipe.
The Khan pipe.
Khan is beating Kirk's behind.
Yes, he is.
Beating
Rightly
Kirk's
so.
behind. The only thing we missed the alien. We missed the Predator whimpering of Arnold Schwarzenegger. If we had Kirk whimpering a little bit, it would have been.
But Kirk,
I will tell you though, Kirk was taking good damage.
Yeah,
he was taking good damage, and he was still in the fight, man.
And Kirk's trying. He gets up on the cage. He tries to get a leg lock on him, but Khan's just throwing him around like a rag doll, and he should be.
Yeah,
that's good writing. He should be. Like to your point,
right.
One good blow from Khan should really be the end.
Should be the end.
Yeah.
But Khan's throwing Kirk around. He's playing with him, and he throws Kirk up against the console, and Kirk's like. But it's played right. Kirk's not like I'm gonna take you on.
No.
Kirk's like, oh my goodness. Kirk's like
I need some help.
Kirk's like, uh-oh. And Khan's like, oh, I'm gonna finish you now. And Kirk's like, oh wait, what's this? Cooling rod? Oh yeah. And in
5 hits, I counted it.
And in my imagination, that's like a titanium rod.
Yeah,
and any normal person would have took one of those and been gone from this coil. And
well, what I like was the first shot was
to the gut.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a liver shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that was if he would went for the head or something, Khan could have grabbed it.
Yeah.
But he went for the.
He shot it.
He got a body shot.
Body blow.
Khan doubles over, and as Jake pointed out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hits from the Khan pipe.
Yeah, Kirk didn't stop. He was like,
"No, he didn't.
I'm putting this dude down."
Well, but again, what is that thing made of? That Superman. It was kryptonite. He pulled it out. And Kyle was like, "Oh, I'm taking a nap." He worked Khan over.
Yeah.
He worked on Khan's spine with that pipe.
Which just goes to show, unless Khan, the only thing you could say is that maybe Khan was being light on Kirk because he felt he still needed him.
Maybe he intended to take him prisoner, take him alive.
But if he was going full out,
he would have killed Kirk.
He would have killed. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought he could capture Kirk again, take the initiative.
That's what I think.
Because otherwise, I don't know why the fight went as far as it did.
Yeah, it shouldn't have. It should have been over when Kirk walked through the door.
Yeah.
But rewind and watch the pipe again. You know you want to. You owe it to yourself. You got to watch it.
Enjoy.
Well, the Scotty punch is worth.
The Scotty punch is worth rewinding too.
Pulling it up on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
But cut to a court martial. And yeah, I know what they did, and I hear what you're saying, but I'm sorry. I wanted MacGyver's to fry. I wanted her to fry. She deserved to fry. Marooning Khan, dropping Khan off on a planet.
That was mercy.
That was mercy. I thought it was dumb, but that was mercy. But MacGyver's, nah.
So let's look at this. Khan was a criminal, right? He was a warlord.
More than that.
Warlord.
More than that.
Unless Starfleet had the death penalty, all you're going to do is lock him up.
Starfleet does have the death penalty.
All you're going to do is lock him up. Well, he's been in stasis for
200
years, so someone might say he served his term. You don't want this to go to court.
Yeah.
Because they'll manipulate, they'll do a whole bunch of stuff. Kirk didn't want to kill him, so I'm just going to put you on this planet
and let you go.
It's wild. It's
dangerous.
Ferocious.
It's hard.
If you can, I'm not giving you no ship. I'm not giving you a whole bunch of special stuff. You got to go down there and caveman it.
Tame the world. Yeah.
Now, what you can do with that is what you can do.
But would you have really, after all you've just happened to you, you're the captain, would you have really let this man get a foothold anywhere?
Stranding him is the same as death.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to go with this. So here's the deal. If I think about I'm a crew member and I'm on a starship, like what is my biggest fear? Is it like
being left on a planet?
Right. Is it that I'm killed instantly? Is it that the ship is attacked and blown apart and I die? No, it's getting stranded on a remote planet, island.
You would rather say just shoot me now.
Yeah, it goes back to the old, what was the Rura Pente? It's like, you might as well just kill me now.
Yeah.
I think stranding somebody on a primitive world in that time is Kirk's message to his crew is this. There are far worse things than court-martial and you being in prison and this, that, and the other stuff. I can leave you on a rock and tell no one.
And tell no one. Oh, dude. So it's pushed forth as Kirk being malevolent or benevolent.
Merciful, benevolent, yeah.
But, dude, to strand somebody, he had 120 guys.
Because remember this, if you left MacGyver alive and she had a trial, and she was talking about Khan and those people and this, that, and the other stuff. You never know who's listening. Right. There's a nut there that could sit there and go, MacGyver, I'm going to help get you out of this. We need to go get Khan, and we need to. And this way, he removed any of those variabilities. There's not going to be a MacGyver to tell a story to anybody.
Admiral Marcus to get a hold of Khan and do all this dirty stuff. We get into darkness.
Nobody
knows.
Nobody to take a hard look at Kirk's decisions and decide his career is over.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
That's a good point. Well, then it makes me wonder: how do you write MacGyver's up in the records?
We stopped at a planet and she died. We had this conversation before. Crew people dying is not a new thing. But you write something up, you turn it in.
You pencil in a random smog monster. And
no, I think what you do is if he did have to submit a report, it would be confidential. It would be. Yeah, I mean
We are led to believe from the film that Kirk did not report this properly.
Well, that's what Khan said. It might have went up the food chain. Some admirals might have known about what actually happened, but that's about it.
They played it like Chekhov knew, but Chekhov wasn't on the ship when it happened.
Well, they just did that because
he was there, right? But so maybe there was a report. Maybe Kirk did officially report what he did with Khan.
The only thing is that what you would have expected then if they were in the SETI Alpha system, that it would have come up if it was a quarantine planet.
They never quarantined it.
Yeah.
They just set him out there. It was what's weird about it is from what you get from Wrath of Khan, it was out in the sticks even 15 years later.
Right.
The SETI Alpha system was out of the way. They hadn't pushed that way. It wasn't developed. So when Reliant is looking for places to blast with Genesis, they think about it. So it's out in the sticks and nobody cares about it anyway.
Right.
Because it was a known quantity. Kirk knew where it was. He dropped him off, kept on rocking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I always felt like MacGyver's got off easy.
Well,
I wouldn't want to be stranded on a planet.
she eventually gets her death sentence. So
yeah,
the earwigs get her.
Yeah. Slow agonizing death.
Yeah.
All right. And as you pointed out earlier, why is the episode called Space Seed?
Because of Spock's comment at the very end. If we could come back 100 years and see what happens from the seed that you planted.
See,
which is ironic because he's foreshadowing his own death.
He is.
Because remember, what comes of all this is the death of Spock.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's the brilliance of the writing of Wrath of Khan. Somebody took this episode, really looked at it, really
there's no better
pulled the elements out of it.
Show me a better example. Show me a better example of a television show that evolves into a movie that is so good. I don't know anything that has ever come close to what they were able to do. The continuity is still there. Didn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
You know, the only mess ups is Chekhov and Sulu. Neither one of them are in this episode.
It's not a mess up. That's easy enough to retcon. I mean,
you could say that they were in the background. They weren't on their duty stations.
It's arguable that Sulu was on the ship at the time. Chekhov shows up later. Somebody tells him the story, or he reads it in the record because if there is a record.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about that story detail. I'm talking about the
Spock connection,
the story, how you introduce Kirk's son.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's so many things that are introduced into the movie that because the television show did such a good job of allowing there to be a continued story that you could make up.
Yeah.
And so when you finally saw it, you were like, wow, I here's some of the things I might have been thinking about, but they also had so many different elements that you accepted right away. Like Carol Marcus having a son. I bought it.
Yeah.
I bought it 100% when I saw Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
But that wasn't necessarily in the television show.
Well, I even told you when we were briefly talking about it, I thought Carol Marcus tied back to an episode, and she didn't.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, there you have it, gentlemen. Space Seed. 2 times around, we still like it, right?
Oh, definitely.
And like I said,
give me my pipe.
the precursor, the prologue to what I still say is the greatest science fiction movie ever made, which is Wrath of Khan.
I don't know. Maybe.
That's me.
Maybe.
That's just me. When I check off, pun intended, when I check off everything that makes a great science fiction movie, I challenge anybody to find a better movie than Wrath of Khan.
It's a good movie, period. To me, it's one of those movies that transcends the genre. It's a good movie. It has
all the elements thoroughly fleshed out and fit to uniformity. There's not too many MacGuffins and all this stuff other than the Genesis device itself.
Yeah, the Genesis device is a MacGuffin. It's almost unnecessary, except that it leaves the door open for things later.
Yeah, it's a plot device to show the ambition of
Khan.
Kirk's son.
Well, that too.
To try to achieve something that was beyond his reach. I mean, every element in there though is such good storytelling.
Yeah.
And just I think Harv Bennett was the director, and you start off with a Kirk, and we'll talk more about it. But I mean, you start off with a Kirk who literally enters in through this glowing light behind him,
right?
And within the scene or two, you realize he's having trouble seeing.
He's an old man.
Yeah, he's an old man. You've taken this, but you didn't. But you didn't drag him down and make him less. You made him more human. You made him more of Captain Kirk instead of less of it. Right. You didn't humiliate him.
So he loses his physical abilities, but he's still a very senior guy.
Okay, wait, stop.
Yeah.
We're not going to start the Wrath of Khan episode today. We're going to end the Space Seed episode.
Fair enough.
So remember all that. Anybody want a couple of misbehaving captains? This has been Men on Trek. I'm just going to stop it just like this.
Click like and subscribe.
Click like and subscribe. Tell us what the greatest science fiction movie is in the comments.
Till next time.
Yeah. You guys